Business Application Designer provides simplified mobile application development and deployment without the need of any past programming experience. With the Business Application Designer, mobile applications can be created and published onto devices within minutes. In this video, we will be showing how easy it is to create an inventory management application to capture data and be able to keep track of items within an inventory. First, let's create a Business Application Designer project by clicking the New Project button. If we open the project, we can see there are two elements to these projects. The first element is the application element, which contains the definition of our application. It essentially defines what we see and the flow of the application. By opening the element, we can visually lay out the application through form dialog nodes. Now, form dialogs are the building blocks of mobile applications. Each form dialog defines a high-level form with simple and common functionality, usually used for data capturing applications. We can easily drag and drop them onto the canvas to lay out our application. Now, each dialog can be configured by double-clicking the node. Here we have a menu dialog. A menu dialog is used to provide an application, a menu, where buttons act as the menu items. So for the application, we're going to have one button to view the inventory, another to add a new item, and one final button to perform synchronization. When each button is pressed, they are going to open another form dialog. Within our application, we're also going to use a list dialog. Now, list dialogs can be used to view all records or a subset of records in a data table. You'll notice a red drop-down menu indicating an error because the list dialog does not have a specified data table. Each list dialog will need a data table in which data will come from. So let's go ahead and create a new table to hold our item details. Let's call it inventory. Add a primary key. Also add a column for the name of the item, an optional description, and the quantity. Now we can configure the list dialog to show specific columns. We can also adjust their widths and also the text alignment. Now our next dialog are edit dialogs. Edit dialogs are used to add, modify, or delete records in the data table. For our application, they're going to be used to add new items to the inventory and modify or delete existing items. Now, if we bind the data table to the inventory table we defined before, we can see this neat functionality where fields and their corresponding controls are automatically added to the form. These controls will allow users to enter valid data to be saved into the data table. The next dialog are sync dialogs. Sync dialogs are used to facilitate synchronization through enabling and disabling sync requests. Sync requests contain all the required information for synchronization to occur between client and server sources. So let's create a sync request. This sync request will contain the information needed to upload our inventory to the server. Now, we need to define the client-side data source that will be synchronized, as well as the direction that data will be sent. So let's leave that as upload. Now that we have defined all our dialogues, we now need to connect them together through form links. Form links define the flow and navigation of the application. They are connections between two form dialogues indicating one dialogue will open another. You can create a form link by holding the control button and dragging the mouse to the intended dialogue. We have successfully created a form link indicated by the directional arrow snapping into place. In this form link, the menu dialog will open the list dialog. However, the action in the menu dialog that will open the list dialog will need to be set. By double-clicking the select action box, we can see the available actions that can be assigned. Now, we want the list dialog to open when the view inventory button is pressed to view all items in the table. Let's go ahead and make another form link for the edit dialog to add a new item into the inventory. And finally, another to open the sync dialog. Additionally, we want to create a form link between the list dialog and edit dialog. We want this form link to occur when the add button is pressed to create a new item, but we also want to modify an existing item in the inventory. By ticking the checkbox, we have assigned multiple actions to the form link. Since we want to modify the table, we will need to specify the exact record to be edited. We can do this by setting the parameter value to the unique record identifier for the record. By clicking the field, we see our data source tree that lists possible sources of data. Here we can access form values available. Now each dialog will have predefined unique values called form values. These are values that can be used throughout the application to store unique data. For example, a list dialog exposes the column values of the selected row in the list view control. So we can use the form value to specify the record to edit. Great, now we have defined our application. Now for this application, we want to be able to send inventory data we capture on devices to a server-side database. To do this, we will need the data flow element. With the data flow element, we can visually lay out the flow of data between client and server-side data sources. You will notice upon opening the element that our client tables defined in our application are automatically defined for us. So all we need to do is create our server-side data sources. For this application, we are going to be using a database. We can easily drag and drop the server-side node onto the canvas and double-click the node to enter the details of the database. Now we need to create a data flow link. Data flow links indicate the direction data will flow between the client and server. For this case, we want the client to send its data to the server. You can create data flow links by holding the control button and dragging the mouse to the intended destination. And with that, our application is complete and ready to synchronize data. All we need to do now is publish the application onto a Bright server instance. By simply right-clicking the project and pressing on Publish, we can deploy our application onto the server. First, our application will be validated for any errors. Next, we will need to specify the location of a Bright server instance that is currently running. After, the elements of the project to be deployed can be selected. We can also optionally upload files with the deployment. By successfully publishing onto the server, we are prompted with the login details to be entered on the Bright Forms app. By entering these details, the client device can download and execute the application. We can view our inventory, add new items, modify existing items, and even synchronize to our database. With the Business Application Designer, mobile application development is made easy and efficient where no programming is needed. For more information, go to brightexpress.com. Thank you.